Okay, here we are with our final group of the day. We have the students from the Midwifery program. Welcome.
Good afternoon. My name is Laure Raymond, and together with my colleagues Madison DelToro, Breyana Haggwood-White, Jennifer King, and Jennifer Langbehn, we'll be presenting on behalf of the Midwifery program today. And so we're going to start. Pregnancy can be one of the most joyous times in a childbearer's life. Nowadays, pregnancy is showcased openly in a myriad of ways, including gender reveals on social media, reality shows about teenage pregnancy, and rallies concerning reproductive rights. Though it comes with a great many changes, such as weight gain, mood swings, and the ephemeral maternal glow, childbearers are often overcome with emotions when they finally meet their baby. Surrogates, however, have an alternative experience as they do not keep the baby that they nurture. Despite undergoing the many changes and challenges of pregnancy, surrogates relinquish the offspring they nurture to their intended parents. Does this impact their mental wellness? If so, what is being done to ensure that a surrogate's mental wellness is preserved in the postpartum period? Our proposal seeks to explore the mental wellness of surrogates in the postpartum period by measuring and investigating the incidence of postpartum depression and its associated symptoms among surrogates. Our question: how does postpartum counseling impact the incidence of postpartum depression in surrogates? To which we hypothesize that surrogates that receive postpartum counseling will show a reduced incidence of PPD and its associated symptoms as opposed to surrogates that receive standardized care. With that, Maddie will give us some background and history of surrogacy.
So surrogacy is a means to bring new life into this world for others that may not have the means to do so. There's two types of surrogacy that we're going to be talking about today. The first one is gestational surrogacy. This involves the assistance of assisted reproductive technology, or ART, and the use of IVF, or in vitro fertilization. And an egg and sperm is taken from an intended parent, created into an embryo, and then implanted into a surrogate's uterus. And with this, the surrogate isn't biologically connected to this child, and then the child is given to the intended parents, or the biological parents in the end. There's also traditional surrogacy, where the surrogate is actually biologically related to the child as their own egg is being used, and either a sperm donor or the intended parent's sperm is then used to create the embryo and then implanted into the surrogate's uterus, or then it's also used intrauterine insemination as well. And the surrogate is actually biologically related to this child and then given to the parents who are then the intended parents. There's two different ways why surrogates would choose this, two mainly different ways. One is altruistic surrogacy, which involves surrogates becoming surrogates just because they have an immense sense of pride that they're doing this for someone that may not have the means to do so, that can't bear a child. And they have an immense sense of pride in doing that for themselves. There's also commercial surrogacy, where the surrogate actually has financial gain in the surrogacy program, and the intended parents or government-assisted programs would help financially stabilize the surrogate while she's in this process. And we have noticed that surrogates that involve in commercial surrogacy have more of an incidence of postpartum depression because they don't realize the lasting impact that this can happen on them, and they just do it for financial gain. So surrogates can undergo the same amount of pregnancy complications and hormonal changes that any pregnant person can go through. Some of these pregnancy complications can include gestational diabetes or preeclampsia, which is high blood pressure in pregnancy. And these two complications can follow them later on in life. And later on, they can actually develop type 2 diabetes or hypertension, and this can follow them throughout the rest of their life. They also go through many hormonal changes during pregnancy and in the postpartum period. And because of this, they're at more of a higher risk for developing postpartum depression after delivery. Many surrogates have stated that they didn't have much support and counseling from healthcare providers postpartum. And because of this, they did develop postpartum depression. And this is where midwifery plays a huge role in preventing postpartum depression in surrogate mothers. What we're proposing is that mothers have a mandatory 12-week postpartum counseling period in which they can express their concerns about the surrogacy and about giving up the child, as well as they can express anything in their life, including relationships, financial instability, anything. And it really just helps them express their concerns. And with this counseling, we can help identify postpartum depression early, screen them, and then refer them if needed to a psychiatrist or psychologist.
Hi guys, I'm going to be doing a literature review. So we just wanted to kind of define postpartum depression first. So it's characterized as intense feelings of sadness or depression or just feeling like you can't perform your daily tasks. And so this can occur from immediately after birth up to 1 year post-birth, and it can develop between 1 and 3 weeks. And according to ACOG, it affects 1 in 8 women in the U.S. So while we were doing our literature review, there's not that many studies that actually explored the mental health of surrogates, but a couple that we did see, mostly they were international studies in the UK and things like that. And so what we were seeing is that, especially in a study written by Yao et al., that there's many psychological outcomes that are associated with surrogacy, and as we explore their mental states, that a lot of the women in the Western world actually associated with a feelings of joy, accomplishments, and pride, and satisfaction. And then there was also another study that was located in Iran where surrogacy was mostly done for financial gain. And in those moms, we did see that there was increased risk of postpartum depression, maybe because they were doing it for not those altruistic reasons, but for financial gain because, they felt that they had to. And so basically, we were just really seeing that the research is limited, so that really makes our study here in the U.S. really important. Okay.
Well, welcome. In this study, a mixed methods longitudinal design will be used to assess postpartum depression in gestational surrogates. A combination of quantitative surveys and qualitative interviews will ensure a comprehensive understanding of the psychological experiences of surrogates following childbirth. The quantitative data will measure depression severity, while the qualitative data will explore the surrogate's emotional experiences. This study will be conducted to statistically assess how postpartum counseling can affect postpartum depression in surrogates based on different criteria. This design is supported by prior research that highlights both the prevalence and underlying emotional complexities of postpartum depression in surrogate mothers. Our objectives are to measure the prevalence and severity of postpartum depression in surrogates, gestational surrogates, to explore surrogate mothers' emotional experiences and coping mechanisms in postpartum, to understand what role postpartum mental health counseling will play in the incidence of postpartum depression, to identify key social, psychological, and medical factors influencing postpartum depression risks in surrogates. Our sample size will be 100. We will recruit 100 surrogates, of which we will separate them. One group will have 50, and the other group will have another 50. And in the 50, one of them will receive postpartum counseling, and the other will not. In this group, we will also separate 10 participants from each group to get a deeper understanding of their experiences. Participants will be recruited from social media, as well as counseling groups. Our study timeline will track surrogates from 3 to 12 weeks postpartum with data collection at 3 time points. The baseline will be week 3 postpartum, which will be the initial assessment of depression symptoms and qualitative interviews. Our midpoint will be done at week 8, well, the depression reassessment and progress interviews. The endpoint will be week 12, where we will do final depression assessment and follow-up interviews. Our inclusion data will include females aged 21 to 45 who have completed a surrogate pregnancy within the past 3 weeks, with no prior diagnosis of psychiatric disorders requiring hospitalization and willingness to complete the study. The exclusion criteria will be surrogates who have endured any stillbirths or neonatal loss, or who have high-risk pregnancies such as preeclampsia or gestational diabetes. Surrogates who are undergoing intensive psychiatric treatment for postpartum psychosis will be excluded. Our data collection methods will be, we will use a cross-sectional survey within 5 standardized survey instruments, which include the Edinburgh Postnatal Depression Scale, which is a 10-item screening tool, which is very prevalent and widely used in maternal mental health research, the General Anxiety Disorder method, the Perceived Stress Scale, the Multi-Dimensional Scale of Perceived Social Support, the Impact of Events Scale revised. All of the participants will complete the surveys online or via mail questionnaires. The questionnaires will be returned via mail or electronic mail, and we will provide pre-stamped envelopes. The ethical considerations. We will have an institutional review board approval, informed consent for all of our clients, confidentiality, everything will be anonymized, and identifying information will be stored separately from research data. The participants have the right to withdraw, and we will provide support resources.
I'm already getting my Oscar music, so I'm going to try to keep this short. All right, so thank you. So the exciting part is data analysis. To analyze our quantitative data, we'll start by cleaning processes, by eliminating anyone in the study who has been excluded, met the exclusion criteria, duplicate entries, or incomplete information. Those will be removed from the final data pool. Our inferential statistics will begin by separating the instruments. So the tools used, the GAD-7, the Edinburgh tool, they're separated and then divided by our study and our control group. Parametric t-test plots will be used with GraphPad t-test calculators to determine the mean and standard deviation of the 2 variables, which are our control and our study group. We've chosen the t-test tool. It has benefits for determining the difference in the means of the 2 groups, whether they're statistically significant rather than due to random chance. It's also well suited for a study group of this size. We will develop t-distribution tables to help to determine our p-value, which we expect to be less than or equal to 0.05, expected also to support our study's hypothesis and to reject our null hypothesis, which is no difference between the 2 groups. To supplement our p-value, we'll also be calculating effect size with Cohen's d formula. This is the difference of the 2 means divided by pooled standard deviation. So this will provide a standardized measure for the difference between our screening tools for both groups. There's a reference for the numerical association with the study sizes, which you can see there, and I'm not going to read those. All right, so for our qualitative data, excuse me? Wrap up. So very quickly, transcription software and manual transcription will be done for the audio recordings into transcripts, which will be reviewed, coded by multiple researchers to eliminate areas of bias or blind spots. Software will be used for axial coding, so we'll have further categorization, thank you, my friend, and identifying recurring themes and relationships in the text. We will interpret all of this data by posing our qualitative and our quantitative data together, comparing it with published literature, and researchers will be having very reflective reviews of the processes and our own data, and this will be included in our final assessment and reporting. Thank you, sir.
let me finish, or should we just show the slides? Okay. All right. We recognize that our proposal is very ambitious and has its limitations. Some things to consider are our small sample size, as it may not be indicative of the overall trend of PPD and surrogates across the United States. As such, the study may need to be expanded, repeated, or redesigned to better reflect a comprehensive understanding of PPD and surrogates. In conclusion, because he's rushing us, we love you though. PPD can affect as many as 1 in 8 childbearers. Are surrogates included in these metrics? I don't know. And if they are these trends the same among them? Research into the postpartum mental state of surrogates is lacking. While they are expected to withstand the same changes and consequences of pregnancy as natural childbearers, surrogates still need the same care given to any childbearer. But there is no unified system for the legalities of their services, nor for the care to be administered to them. Although we hope that our hypothesis is proven, as with any research, we recognize that we must be open to any unexpected or contradictory findings, and that these findings must be openly discussed, reported, and contextualized so as to properly understand and guide future work in this field. Thank you for your attention, and sorry for going over time.
And special thank you to Professor Wiggins, Shakima.
Go Shakima, thank you so much for your support.